Hey guys, thank you for clicking this video. Just to let you know, this is a segment from my live streams that I do Sunday through Friday. Once again, if you want to catch the live stream, that is going to be Sunday through Friday, 6:30 Mountain Time. And if you don't know what time that is in your time, go ahead and Google it. But once again, enjoy the video, subscribe, and like this video. Back to the video. One thing that I've realized, and once again, I've been on YouTube for about 2.5 years, and a lot of people have been asking me, well, why don't you run for X, Y, and Z? Like, you seem like a pretty good communicator, and you know some things, and you're pretty handsome, so you can probably do some things. And knowing myself, and then seeing someone like Mom Donnie, okay? Mom Donnie, to me, is like the best example of, I guess ALC is too, but like, young, educated, great communicator. And the one thing that he has that I don't, okay, is that, and this is the important part, when you're running for office, when you're planning on being a politician in whatever seat, your job is to represent all Americans, whether they like you or not, whether they're racist or bigots, misogynist, anti-Semitic, whatever. You have to represent them and see them as humans, and you need to create policies that's going to benefit everybody. You can look at Trump and do the exact opposite and you'll be fine. And watching this interview with Mom Donnie on Fox News, and I was surprised. He's going on Fox News. I had to do a double take. I'm like, is this real? But then as I was listening at work, it hit me like he is doing what a lot of politicians can't do, or at least Republicans, is show everybody, every American, especially in New York, that he is willing to go to these platforms and explain to them, even though I'm a Democratic socialist, I'm under the Democratic umbrella, I am going to make New York better for you, everybody. And that right there is an important thing. And excuse me, I thought I had a burp, but it wasn't. But once again, another thing that I noticed in this was, and it's the oldest playbook, okay? They always want to double down on every single question. Okay, you want free busing. How are you going to pay for it? He gives an answer. Okay, but how are you going to pay for that? What's your plan B? What's your plan C? Which is good. I think we should be holding all of our politicians to that standard. But remember, Trump ran and won off of, what did he say? I have concepts of a plan when it comes to Medicare, which I don't know. I think it's kind of important, right? I don't know. But once again, he just said, I have concepts of a plan that's coming out in a few months. And that was 1.5 years ago. Still ain't seen no concepts. Trump? Come on. What's going on? So, but of course, when you're going on Fox News and you're a Democrat in any measure, they're going to play these games. And in my opinion, he knocked it out the park. So let's go ahead and take
on to New York. You want
to listen. And of course, we're not going to watch the whole thing because we will be here for hours. So let's go ahead and start it at the 8-minute mark. Ready, set, and go.
The most profitable corporations walk all over us here in New York City. And it's part of the problem. We're streamline the regulations and rules that these small businesses have to adhere to. Because today, if you want to open up a barbershop, you have to fill out 24 forms, go to 7 agencies, 12 in-person activities. And furthermore, we're going to have a mom and pop czar, someone that'll help these businesses navigate through this. Because while we are holding these kinds of businesses to these kinds of rules, we're letting the most profitable corporations walk all over us here in New York City. And it's part of the problem where so many New Yorkers look around at the wealthiest city in the wealthiest country in the history of the world and asking themselves, there's all this money, why can't I afford $2.90 to even ride the bus?
And once again, like I told you, he's going to be hitting that same note like a gangster. Once again, that's what you're supposed to do, is people over billionaires, regular New Yorkers over the wealthy. And people are so brainwashed into hearing politicians do the opposite. Okay, we're going to take care of the people, but we need to cater to our wealthy of the wealthiest. Which, we're tuned to be like, okay, I guess, yeah. The trickle down effect, okay. But it's refreshing and exciting to hear a politician say, hey, we going to tax these dudes. They ain't going to leave, but if they do, all right, sayonara. But my job is to cater to the majority, which is regular folks.
Let me just quick question on that, and I want to get to public safety because it's obviously another big issue for New Yorkers. So a lot of individuals in this city pay more than 50% of their income in taxes. When you talk about a fair share, how much more than what is the fair share? What's the number?
I've said that we should increase personal income taxes by 2%.
Is fair?
And my point is this:
give up more than half of your income. That's
if you're making $1 million in New York City or more than that, you can afford to pay 2% more. And the reasons you can afford to do so is because that money will be used to better your quality of life as well.
Yeah.
Because when I speak to the wealthiest New Yorkers, I hear concerns about the cleanliness of the city, the quality of life in the city, questions of public safety. This money is the money that will be used to deliver on those things so that we can ensure that we have a return on investment for all of the money that we are raising and spending right here across the 5 boroughs.
I want to talk to you about public safety and your relationship with police. So just in terms of public safety, I want to go to an example first, because I hear from people that they don't feel safe walking home at night. There's drug addicts on the street, right around the corner here. You can walk around the corner and see people shooting up. A lot of garbage on the streets right now. The subway is something that people are really concerned about. Last week, 64-year-old Nicola Tanzi, who was a church leader, a pillar in his community, was brutally beaten to death. I tried to watch this video in preparation. It's very hard to watch. In a subway station in Brooklyn. 25-year-old David Mazarregos had a 20-inch sword. He's the suspect in this case. He was out. They lowered his bail so that he could get out. He was already waiting a trial for attacking someone in Chelsea. 33 past arrests. You were in favor of bail reform. Does that make you want to change your mind or think twice about reversing that?
This is a horrific incident, and it's the same video that I saw. And it's one that horrifies New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs, and it's completely unacceptable. And what it makes me think about is the necessity of providing public safety in our New York City subway system and across the 5 boroughs. Yeah. And also, how do we end the revolving door? Because when you look further into the case of whether this individual or so many individuals, especially those suffering from mental health issues, what we find is so often the only mental health system that we have that's functioning in the city is Rikers Island. 40% of the incarcerated population there are suffering from serious mental illness.
Why was he on the street is the question. Why was he on the street?
Because we have a broken system.
They lowered his bail. He had a bail he couldn't pay. Then they lowered the bail, and then he could pay it. Imagine if you're this family.
Okay, now, once again, this is classic Fox News. Like, she's looking in the camera like, they lowered his bail, and they let this maniac out again to kill. Like, we already know their MO and what Mamdani is explaining, which I understand, but like maybe the viewers are not grasping it. Once again, and this is backed by data, backed by facts. Go ahead and Google it. I don't have time to like explain, the birds and the bees to you, okay? Just go ahead and look this up. But once again, it is not a solution to grab whoever commits any crime and say, hey, you're going to prison for X amount of years, have no sort of rehabilitation program in there, just sit in there, work and sit in your cell for X amount of years, and then come out, and then you expect people to change? That's number one. Number two, people are mentally ill. Once again, if you have the nerve to go out there and beat somebody, do that type of harm to someone, you obviously need some help. And sending them to prison is not helping. I mean, it's helping the prison pipeline, and is making them millions of dollars, but it's not helping the individual, because you can't just lock people away forever. Like she's gonna say, he had 33 arrests. What, after the second one, you're gonna throw him into prison forever, or try to send him to somewhere where he can get some help? But once again, if your only solution is, oh, this person to me is a bad person, I'm going to send them to jail forever, that's not a solution. And once again, Mamdani does a great job explaining that we need other options for individuals before it gets this far.
Pay, then they lowered the bail, and then he could pay it. This is, imagine if you're this family, I mean, and they look at 33 prior arrests, and why was this man on the street? What would stop him in your administration from being on the street?
Because what we would do is actually address the systemic problems that would ensure that someone who goes through the system this many times is actually, his issues are addressed, the services are provided. Right now, all we have is going in and out, especially when it comes to mental health. I'll give you an example.
Where would he be in your world? Where would he be? In a mental institution?
He would actually be getting services from the first time that he was arrested, as opposed to having to go through them 33 times. If you look at the New York Times, they did an investigation on 1,000 different incidents of violent crime in the city tied to mental health episodes. Yeah. They found that so many of those same New Yorkers were failed by the interactions they had with the city when they went for help, for mental health assistance. And that failure is a blight, it is a stain on our city, and it's a failure that I'm looking to fix by actually transforming this with the only comprehensive plan for public safety of any of the candidates. Because what we are going to do is put out a plan and a proposal that we have shared with New Yorkers to create the Department of Community Safety that would bring together all of these pre-existing silos that address mental health crisis, that address homelessness into one department, provide it with the funding necessary, and actually address this crisis.
Where do these people go, though, is my question. Are you going to put them in a mental institution so they can be taken care of, or are you going to leave them at home on medication? What's the plan?
There's a plan right now that allows for involuntary confinement, which I think should be a last resort, because of the fact that when you look at the actual results, this is something that so often doesn't actually have what has been spoken about. But what we have today that actually works for New Yorkers with serious mental illness, there are things like Fountain House. This is a clubhouse model, peer-led rehabilitative treatment for New Yorkers with serious mental illness. It costs $4,000 to have someone in Fountain House for a year. That's the cost of being on Rikers for 3 days. And what we see, however, is that those services, they increase employment by 50%, they reduce hospitalization by up to 45%, and they actually reduce the cost of healthcare as well for those same New Yorkers. This is what we're looking at. This is why we say that Rikers is broken, the system is broken.
You can just see people who are suffering up and down 8th Avenue, just as one example. And I hope we'll have a chance to talk more about that next time. But
now, once again, you have to think beyond just the one solution that we have been brainwashed into believing. And once again, and damn it, I done said once again like a million times, but once again, hey, it's my show. I can say once again how many times I want. But when it comes to bail reform, you got to understand a lot of first-time offenders are usually poor, impoverished communities. So when they have a $200, $300, $400 bail and they stole some toilet paper or something stupid at a store, they can't pay that. You see what I'm saying? Like, do you see what the juggling act is? You can't just have one solution for everyone who commits a crime, from a misdemeanor to a downright felony. You can't just have one solution and group everyone up in that one solution, which is prison. That's not going to work, because that disproportionately affects black and brown people. What do you know? Hey, we've been here before. Hey, that's where I learned it.
But I don't want you to leave without me asking you about your relationship with the police, because obviously this is a big issue. You said in the past, I almost don't need to go through it, it's been said many times, but that you called the police force racist, said they were a major threat to public safety, called them wicked and corrupt. And now the report that you apologized to 24 members of the NYPD. What did you say to them?
I apologized for the language that I used, and I spoke to them about the fact that I want to work with them to deliver public safety. Because what we're seeing in the city right now is we're asking officers to do nearly everything we can think of. We used to ask officers to focus on serious crimes. Now we're asking them to focus also on the mental health crisis, to focus also on homelessness. In 1 year alone, the NYPD receives 200,000 mental health calls. In 1 year.
Yeah, and you know what they told me? That 1 out of 3 of those, the person they're very, very dangerous interactions. You're going to send a social worker in there?
You can always have a police officer actually come to address that. But look, you're saying 1 out of 3. 2 out of 3 times, if you don't need the police and you're sending them to do that, then why aren't you sending them to respond to shootings and murders? 5, 6 years ago, the response time for officers was closer to 10 minutes. Now it's closer to 16 minutes. New Yorkers deserve a police department that is asked to do the things that it can possibly do, not one that covers the failures of every break in the social safety net.
So police officers that I spoke to, they don't want a behind closed doors apology. They want a broad public apology for the things that you suggested about them. Will you do that right now?
Absolutely. I'll apologize to police officers right here, because this is the apology that I've been sharing with many rank and file officers. And I apologize because of the fact that I'm looking to work with these officers, and I know that these officers, these men and women who serve in the NYPD, they put their lives on the line every single day. And I will be a mayor that
What changed your mind about it?
You know, I moved to the city.
Come on, man. Messed up his apology. But once again, most of us know, or at least depending on who's watching this, most of us know when we say the police are corrupt, they're racist, that is the majority of police officers. Once again, look at the data, look at the history. I'm talking about the origins of how the police department came about. It would blow your mind. So once again, that is built on racism. I didn't come up with that. I didn't make up the history. It's just right there for us to read, okay? But once again, the sentiment isn't wrong. But I love how he said, you know what? Let me go ahead and apologize. Because once again, he understands and knows he needs to be the mayor. He needs to represent everybody there in New York, not just the ones who support him. He could have dodged it like any politician. Well, you know, technically, kind of, sort of. Let me try to pivot and talk about something else. No, he said, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and do it, because this is like the 14th time I done seen within a few weeks of people like, are you gonna apologize? Are you gonna like? Damn, man. He said he did it privately, but hey, once again, this right here is how a politician reads the room and understands, okay, this is what the people want. I'm going to do it. And he did it. So thank you.
When I was 7 years old, I grew up here. And two of the things that I thought often about was safety and justice. And growing up here, learning about the case of the exonerated 5, learning about Sean Bell, learning about Eric Garner, learning about Michael Brown. And then in 2020, the year where all of these tweets are referring to, it was the year when George Floyd was killed. And it felt like safety and justice had never been further apart. And it was actually Eric Adams in 2021 who said that New Yorkers need not choose between these two things. And so one of my focuses was, how do we deliver that justice? And now what I know, having represented 100,000 people in Western Queens, is that to deliver that justice, you have to also deliver that safety. And that means representing the men and women in the NYPD. It means representing the black and brown New Yorkers who've been victims of police brutality. It means representing the Muslim New Yorkers in my district who were surveilled on the basis of their faith.
68% of independent voters want more police officers on the street. And Cuomo.
And first off, no, once again, just a simplistic way of trying to like solve a problem. Just like we know, you can't just throw money at something and expecting it to be fixed. Sometimes it takes a little bit more than money. You see what I'm saying? Like, oh, we have crime, let's just throw 50 million thousand police officers in the streets. No, because you got to understand the pros and the cons to anything that you do. And once again, just read history. Just read a history book on policing. We've done that before. Put more police officers, even more, and then more on top of the more. And it didn't work. Once again, disproportionately targeting black and brown people. Why? Why is that? Okay, I'll leave that for you to go ahead and look up. I can't give you all the game, okay? But once again, and Jake Jones, you said I don't know that it's what the people want. It's what Republican voters, because once again, he's on Fox News. You got to remember that he's not talking to like CNN or something. The viewers, nine times out of 10 is going to be a Republican viewer. And when they hear this, when they say, oh, she's asking him to apologize. And if he was to dodge that question, their simple minds are going to be like, oh my God, he doesn't like the police. He hates the police. He's going to become mayor and disband the whole entire police force. But he knew, he was like, you know what? I'm talking to their base. They're very simplistic in their thinking. They don't understand nuance or history. So let me just apologize. And that does so much for their tiny lizard brains. Like, oh my God, he apologized. Oh my God. So once again, he understands that he needs to meet people where they're at. Republican, Democrats, and anyone in between. And like I told you, someone like myself can't do that. I'm not going to sit here and try to reason with idiots. No. Bye-bye. Be gone. You see what I'm saying? But Mom Donnie is doing this pretty well. You see what I'm saying? So
tomorrow night in that debate, he's going to say, I'm going to bring 5,000 more police officers to the street. Will you match that and agree with him on that?
I don't look to Andrew Cuomo for leadership.
And will you put 5,000 more cops on the street?
I've been very clear. I want to keep the number of officers that we have, and I want to make it easier for those officers to do their job. And what that means is that we allow officers to focus on serious crimes, and for all of the focus on the head count, we should focus on the retention crisis. When I started running for mayor, 200 officers were leaving the department every month. Mm-hmm. Now it's 350. And a lot of them are leaving because there's simply no way they can do their job in what's being asked of them. And to your point, however, Andrew Cuomo is going to say a lot of things tomorrow night on the debate stage. And frankly, I wish it was more like NASCAR, so New Yorkers could see the billionaires that were sponsoring him right on his suit jacket. Because this is a man who had 10 years. And I know now that it's politically convenient, he watches Fox News as well. So I'll just speak to him directly. Andrew, you had your chance to lead this state. You took that time to sell out working class New Yorkers to your billionaire donors. And instead of actually meeting the needs of people who couldn't afford to live in this city, you gave $959 million in tax breaks to Elon Musk. And now you want us to believe that we can't spend less money than that to make every bus fast and free in this same city.
All right.
Hey, I'm just saying that right there is straight bars. Straight bars. And he makes a good point about policing. Like, it goes back to the same analogy. Would you rather have 100 pennies, or would you rather have 4 beautiful, shiny quarters? Once again, if you like carrying around 100 pennies, maybe you do. Maybe you're weird like that. But once again, it's quality over quantity. Some things, quantity will work. I get it. But when it comes to policing, sometimes we need better policing. We don't need 50,000 more mediocre to poor police officers out there. We don't need that, because that's only going to cause more problems. Work with what you got. Make sure the policing is higher quality. And I'm talking about the engagement with civilians. Make sure that it's top notch. Do what you can to make sure the response time is better in X, Y, and Z. And then, hey, maybe we might have something good here. But hey, Mom Donnie did a beautiful job with that interview.
Let's see how you do under pressure. I've been wanting this shit forever. I've been in the field with whatever they throw at me. Brush it off, pick myself up, moving on to the better. Hey. Ain't no errors, baby, it's a new era. I wake up early, feeling rich like I'm Kesha. I get to the paper, boy. Extra, extra.